Yes. Go.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, item 4A is the rapid systems update. At the last meeting, there was discussion and a decision by the board for us to support sharing of the cost of the ILA POP and other related costs. We have carried out the board's desires, and we structured this promissory note and had Rapid Systems sign the promissory note. It's in the packet. It's numbered as part of the items is number 6, and as an information item, I'm noticing you that last action has been carried out, but we did secure it with a promissory note.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to ask the attorney something about this. If he's here. Is this enforceable?
It's a note. The answer is yes. It is secured by, as the note describes, and I think the discussion at the meeting supported, recovery proceeds from lawsuit. So, the answer is yes.
Okay, so it's worth the paper it's written on.
Well, all notes are, sometimes, Mr. Samuels, you'll know, you can't always collect on a promissory note. I can tell you that. So it's not 100% ironclad, no, sir, but it is important.
Okay, thank you.
It does depend on them recovering some money. If they don't, then it's just paper.
Pretty much, yes, sir.
Next.
The next item, Mr. Chairman, is the item that we added, item 4B, PFM update and lease modification.
Wait. Is this spot in the agenda where we can try to clear the air about this lien question? The rapid system.
Okay, what question do you have there?
Okay, if I may. I asked the question last month. Has the broadband turnover to rapid systems been completed? And apparently the answer was no. Well, yeah, well, there's something about a lien that's come up that's stirred up a lot of controversy, and I'd like to put it to rest if possible. When it takes me a while, sometime maybe a few days, to digest what goes on in here, especially if I don't get all this information 3 or 4 days ahead of time, which we usually just get the morning of the meeting. And I got to thinking about, we turned it over to Rapid Systems, and then it come up about this money, and my understanding was Bill and Ken was going to negotiate turning it over to them, but that didn't happen because of what I understand, a lien. So what I did was I asked Christy to get me the information for a lien. She had Ken send me something that I understood was a lien. I found out later it was supposedly it's not a lien, it's a UCC, whatever that is. But when I read the cotton picking thing, I couldn't tell who filed what. I didn't know whether it was a lien that FLV filed against Rapid Systems or Rapid Systems filed against FLV. I couldn't figure that thing out. So I asked Christy, did she know? And she didn't know. And which I didn't either. So she told me to get Ken to answer me, which Ken did. And I asked him, would he clarify this in an email? And he said, Donald, if I said that, then I misspoke. It was not a court ruling, because I meant to mention somewhere. Oh yeah, here it is. It was said at the meeting, if I understood correctly, that the reason Rapid Systems had to pay the 5-day pot fee was because of a court ruling on the lien. Is this that lien that is calling Bill and Ken not to be able to transfer broadband to Rapid, or is there another lien? And I asked Ken to clarify that, and he said he misspoke. He said if he said that, he misspoke. It was not a court ruling. The Rapid contract provided by the IDA is to convey these poles to Rapid free and clear of any and all liens and encumbrances. Although I believe the UCC liens, he calls it a lien, are invalid for a number of different reasons. They exist. Rapid paid the ILA pot fee because FLV did not pay it. That was FLV's obligation under the MOUs with Rapid and IDA. Our system would have been impacted negatively had they not taken that action. Hope this helps. And I said, this helps somewhat. When I asked why the turnover hasn't happened, I believe it was Bill who said because of a lien. So I'm trying to understand this. And I swear, there's been a lot of going back and forth on this thing. So I do have a question. That I understand there was a lien against Rapid System when this board voted to turn over the broadband in Rapid. If that's true, is our vote null and void for agreeing to turn it over if there was a lien on this thing?
Why don't we ask Ken to further explain that?
All right, let me see if I can start in the beginning. When the board voted, I'll answer the last question first. The actions of this board are not void, period.
Okay.
When the board voted to transfer these assets over, shortly thereafter, I learned of the existence of these UCCs. I think that they had been out there in La La Land somewhere, and I had either missed them or was just not aware of them. They were in some of the filings in the local lawsuit, Donald, between Rapid and FLV, where Rapid was advertising they were going to sell the equipment and all that stuff. Those UCCs were in some of those filings, but I was not tracking all of those filings down and reviewing all the documents, and that wasn't part of what I was doing.
You say they. The only one you sent me was one, I assume.
There are two. I sent you two.
Oh, you did?
There are two separate UCC filings.
Okay.
Ken, what does the UCC stand for?
Uniform Commercial Code. It is a UCC1, Doug, is a financing statement, is a technical term for it, that is recorded by a party to perfect a security interest in personal property. The Uniform Commercial Code in Florida and other states requires if you're asserting some sort of an interest in personal property, to properly perfect that interest, you record a UCC1 financing statement. Tells the whole world, we claim an interest in this property. It'll show up in a title search. It'll show up in UCC searches.
That helps, thank you.
Okay. That may help a lot of others too, Doug. So,
non-title property and non-mortgage property.
Yeah, I was going to say that banks use that real good example is exactly what he said. If it's not real estate based or title based, like a car title, if you're taking inventory, accounts receivable, equipment that is not titled, crops that are on trees, those you file a UCC, and it is a very common instrument the banks use every day.
and on the follow-up to that, so in the process of initiating this board's directive to close out, I learned of the existence of these two UCCs. There's been a lot of banter, Donald, on the email circuit between, is it a lien, is it not a lien? Technically, it may not rise to the level of lien, but it is a notice that a party claims a lien. Let me put it that way. It's a notice to the world that there is a third party that asserts an interest in the property described in it.
Like an encumbrance.
Like an encumbrance. So whether or not it is a lien is probably irrelevant, Donald, because the Rapid contract requires that we convey the poles. Let's bear in mind the IDA on the poles. We never own the equipment, own them. It's the poles. So we were required to transfer the poles to Rapid Systems free and clear of any liens or encumbrances. So to just focus on this little lien word, the word encumbrance is also in the agreement, which can be anything, right? Anything that hinders or reflects negatively on the title, an encumbrance. So, to kind of dispel the confusion, for lack of a better word, on the use of the word lien, the UCC has noticed to the world that the party filing it claims an interest in the property. And Donald, to clear it up for you, FLV recorded that lien, but it is recorded that UCC purporting to do so for the NTIA. They're listed as the creditor, the feds. Forgot what that even stands for. But the NTIA is the one overseeing the grant, federal grant, the VTOP program. So I think to focus on the use of the word lien is just absolutely misplaced, because the word encumbrance appears in the Rapid contract, so we're required to convey the poles free and clear of any encumbrance, period, or legal. But in layman's terms, Donald, every banker around the table speaks in terms of UCCs being liens. I mean, they reflect, it's a real issue. If a title company or an attorney or anyone else is doing a closing and a UCC is recorded in the public records, they have to deal with it. It is notice to the world that this party claims an interest, and you have to resolve it before you can transfer clear title. Did that help?
Okay, so you're saying there was no encumbrance when we voted to turn it over?
I'm not saying there wasn't one, Donald. I'm saying I wasn't aware of those two UCCs at the time.
Well, well, that's my question. If there was and we didn't know it, now that we know it, was our vote null and void, or our vote stands?
Well, I think that your vote should stand, because I believe that there are methods to work around it with Rapid, and that's what we're working on. I mean, it's my hope is to carry out the board's directive within the next 60 to 90 days, do it what it is you intended us to do, and do it in a way that satisfies Rapid under the contract.
Okay, and there's another thing going around about a court decision by Judge Ezel. Is there any such of a thing that?
There was a hearing, Donald, and I don't remember what month it was. It was earlier this year when Rapid had advertised a notice that they were going to conduct a sale of the equipment. FLV filed a motion to enjoin that, to have an injunction issued to stop that sale from happening. There was a hearing. FLV prevailed on that hearing, basically asserting the existence of a federal interest in this property because it was purchased with grant funds. And it is that very motion I'm talking about, Donald, that I believe these UCCs were an exhibit or attachment to the motion that FLV filed in that lawsuit.
Any other questions?
Those UCCs particularly mention the poles and the equipment?
Doug, it's kind of a it's a complicated issue, because what they actually, the UCCs that were filed were called fixture filings. And it brings into question a fixture is when there is personal property attached to real property in a way that it can't really be removed easily without damaging the property. The most common example you might see is a well, where if you were to actually pull the casing up out of it, it may be personalty, but it's so embedded in the property that it becomes one. So there are multiple ways or arguments, I guess. You could look at the UCCs and claim that Rapid at least took the position that they felt like it was gray enough to them that because these were fixture filings, that there was some sort of an assertion of a interest in the poles themselves, rather than just the equipment that was purchased because of the nature, the special nature of the equipment, and you having to have certain specific skill sets to remove it. You can't just, you or I just can't run up the tower and take the stuff down. So they file them as fixture filings, which kind of makes it really, which in my opinion calls into question the validity of the things to start with, because.
What's the mechanism to dispute the UCC?
Well, I mean, we debated that, Doug, and I even debated the thought of coming back to the board and asking you for authority to file something locally to discharge the UCCs based on a number of arguments I feel they're invalid. But also, after discussion with Rapid, feel like this is an issue that's going to be resolved in their litigation with FLV. It's going to be a part of their issue with FLV is this equipment. And these UCCs will be dealt with between them as part of that litigation. Saw no reason to file something locally and just run costs and fees on the IDA.
Yes, sir.
Well, I've got several documents that I would like to give you guys, and if we can talk without no problem, I'd like to leave one of them alone, because it's only related to whether we can talk or not. But, number one, if you'll give them papers, number one is the cover page to Clifton Larson Allen. Well, you just give one of these, so we'll just go ahead and hurry it up, Ken. I can't imagine, I think that, is it okay to talk to the board, not any particular?
Sure.
Okay.
As long as it doesn't drag out forever.
Well, I'm trying to get that, I'll go through these as quick as possible. They can take their time and sit down and look at this and see if I'm crazy or what. But when I read this, I can't imagine you guys reading this alone and accepting what was handed out. The reason being, I'll give you my interpretation and my opinion. But my opinion is that read this letter and understand what he is saying. What Mr. Larson or Allen, whoever he's doing, he is, the whole letter says, beware. I was paid to play with some numbers that have nothing to do with nothing, but I was paid to try and make a silk purse out of salvage. I am in the letter covering my rear. That's why I think he's done a real good job of covering his rear from probable litigation or even a chance of some criminal violations. I don't know if that's that, but this guy is saying, I ain't, this thing is nothing. And you read it, paragraph after paragraph, he is disclaiming this thing, which came out of the agreement. The lawyer just got over and talked about the agreement, about one part of it. Well, there's a whole lot of parts of that agreement, and one of them was supposed to be these people perform up to Schedule 2, and I've got a lot of public record over this thing. There was never a Schedule 2 put in, and I was told that's because it wasn't none. That was one of the key things to do with this contract with Rapid Systems. This happens with all these things, but anyways, IDA did not perform their duties. They broke the statutes coming and going there, but not doing what they're supposed to. These people are supposed to report to you and all these kind of things. So read that letter, think about it when you go to vote for some of this kind of stuff. I'll leave that alone because I don't want to take up your whole day. I could. Another one is a letter, item that I copied out of a set of minutes. And if you see the highlighted little paragraph on the bottom, this is Mr. Doug Knight back in March 7, 2013, warning the county commissioners to watch where they stick in their nose because they're a private company. Okay? Just think about it. There's a lot of things change when you want money. One day you're private, the next day you're getting public money and you're a private company. Okay? I won't spend a lot more time. That's it. You just look at what the man's proposing, and then look at what's being proposed. Y'all handing him money. And the next thing is 2 pages out of the lawsuit, the federal lawsuit. And the first page tells, this is all I found in there to do with them suing 2 citizens for asking questions and whatever. And I'll tell you right up front, I talk about Rapid Systems. I got a lot of documents and I'll be glad to give them to them. I'll be glad to give them anybody, because they're important. So, but they're asking, like the lawyer sent you a letter the other week, and he says it's almost laughable. Read, that's page 26, that thing, read that part, and tell me it's not laughable. And you're putting your nose in this sick bed, because you're putting your money in, you're backing them up, now claiming that you never give it to them. So, I think that's one thing to look at. And got one more page there.
We need to move along.
I'm hurrying. Ain't got
Well,
but
your 3 minutes
one
is
more
way
thing.
past 3, but I'm giving you a little grace.
Well, I got one, there's people that probably say that now. All right, the next page was the first page. If you look at that humongous list of people, and that doesn't cover all the people they're trying to sue, do you want to get involved in a lawsuit? Is that ridiculous? They don't even know who they're gonna point the finger at. Okay, one other thing, and this is for Mr.
You said
Coolman.
one other thing 3 times.
This is the last. Okay. And thank you for being, yeah. This, I wanted to bring for Mr. Coolman. He sent y'all, some of y'all the email, but I want everybody, I wanna know that they seen it. And I guess I could summarize it and just really quick is, he was talking about this lien situation. And he has tried to find that lien, and this has come up, and he's a little upset about that, which we don't blame him. That's the problem we have, all this arguing and this discourse, is because we never can get public records to back up things and find out what's going on. So, he is saying to, he's asking for explanations, asking the board to think about what they're doing, and, be careful where you're sticking your heads, which is our heads, in our pockets.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, next. Where are we?